Welcome, everybody. This is Beer Guys Radio. This is mid-October 2022, Brian.
It is.
We're here. We have Daniel with us from Modist Brewing in Minneapolis. And before the show, we were talking about Spam.
We were, yes.
That's right. He went to Hawaii. And, Daniel, Spam gets a bad rap by a lot of folks, but I'm a fan. I enjoyed on a breakfast sandwich, a little Spam, egg, and cheese.
Yeah, I think I grew up with eating a lot of meat that came in a can, so
yeah,
I don't hate on it.
Right. I had canned meat for dinner last night. I'm odd in that I like the canned corned beef hash better than
that stuff is good. Yeah,
like homemade, like chopped beef and potatoes. That with some sunny side eggs. I'm good, man.
I'm a big fan of that. For as broke as I grew up, we never did Spam. Ever.
Never had the
Spam.
Spam.
I think my parents had a little bit of health consciousness, and they decided early on, I think that was just a no-go. I mean, I don't have hate for it or anything like that. It just
wasn't part of your culture.
It honestly, it's just never been really a thing that I got into.
Okay,
fair
enough.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm just a fan of eating local. So since it's
there you go, local Spam. That's it, man. That's it. We'll have to. Well, you know what? We'll save it for the show, but we're going to find out if he's ever used it in a beer.
Okay,
I bet he has.
All right.
But folks, we're about to get going live here. Steve and Pete, always good to see you. Kettle Rock Brewing in the house. Hope you're doing. We missed you last week, Steven.
He's in early to make up for it.
We noticed these things, but we're going to get going live here. If you do have any comments, questions for us, or for Steven, or for Daniel, anybody here, just go ahead and post them up, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to chat. So yeah, Steven said he had an event last week, so he couldn't make it. He should have made the event our show.
That's right.
I'm not understanding why that wasn't incorporated into the event. We'll discuss this later, Steven.
An event.
So, but let's do it. Let's go live, Nate.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Casting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. This week, we're talking with Modist Brewing Company. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. Joining us today, we have Daniel Paul Wellendorf, co-owner of Modist Brewing, and their head of marketing. We're going to talk about fun things you can do with lager, impossible beers, THC seltzers, and birds. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Do you prefer Daniel or Daniel Paul?
Daniel works just fine.
Okay.
Is it Daniel or Daniel?
Yeah,
that's a good Daniel.
From now on, we should do that the rest of the show.
All the way there. I got a voicemail today from someone, and they said, "Yeah, I got a call here from Tom Dantana," and I'm just calling back. I'm like, maybe I'll adopt that. Maybe I will be Tom
Dantana.
Yeah,
I can believe that.
Yeah,
I think you might need cowboy boots or something, or hats, but I think I can.
A mustache at least.
Oh, mustache. Oh, yeah. Or a toothpick. Have you considered a toothpick?
I think both.
Okay.
I think both. Definitely. I should adopt that. Daniel, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, excited.
Good stuff. How is that? We almost hit freezing here in Atlanta last night. Our first time this season. Has there been any snow up there yet?
Yeah, when I was in Hawaii, we did, which was a week ago, I started seeing some snow pics from Minnesota. So I missed it, but it snows in October every year here, and every single time we're kind of fooled. It's like, what? Really?
What? Right. Surprises you every single year, right?
I can't believe you've done this again.
Yeah. Then
we trusted you. Yeah, it's uncommon for us to. I mean, we've had Halloweens where it's shorts and t-shirt weather. I've had Christmas when it's shorts and t-shirt weather down here. So, we don't see that one that often, but it's happened.
What is it? The Hawaiian Christmas song that I like so much, Mele Kalikimaka. We've had some where it has been a Hawaiian Christmas here, and it's been nice.
We have, but it is going, Brian. It's spooky season.
It is.
And I know this because every email I get, all the TV commercials, all of that, tell me it's spooky season, coupled with telling me that it's time to start shopping for Christmas. But we're going to give it time. We're not going to push Halloween out the way. And I was thinking, as spooky season comes upon us, as Halloween comes upon us, Daniel, Halloween, is there a beer to you that says Halloween, or what should we drink for the holiday?
The stouts are the easy answer. But I don't know. I feel like I'm still drinking Oktoberfest right now. Like I'm not ready to give up. I know Oktoberfest start coming out earlier and earlier, it seems, as time goes by. You start seeing them on shelves in July and early August, right? It's still Oktoberfest season to me. So
that's fair.
I agree.
We're fairly opinionated on our October. Like I, as a matter of principle, don't drink any Oktoberfest till September 1st, just because I'm fighting seasonal creep. So I don't have that. And we had a discussion just a couple of weeks ago about how long can you go the other way with it, because Oktoberfest in Munich ends, was it the 5th this year?
Yeah, it's the first weekend of the month. So I think it was like the 2nd or the 3rd. It was barely into October. And
that's Daniel. My stance was you can September and October, go for it. And I believe Ernest, he said Oktoberfest is a state of mind. So just whenever you're there, just go for it.
And Ernest is a cool dude. He knows what he's saying. And so I kind of okay with that, because when you think about it, it's half of them are Marzens, the other half are fest beers, and maybe that should be Oktoberfest, but a Marzen, I could drink a Marzen most times of the year.
We've got a beer on our beers of the week this week from Fright Guys, which I believe is German for fried ghost.
So I think so.
I think that's right. So
that's a good. That's a good
Phantom. That would be another one that would be seasonally
thematically correct. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about beer puns with Halloween. There's probably a ton of them out there.
What do you think, Brian? Halloween, what do you think? What's the beer that's in your hand?
Oh boy. I like the idea of going stout. I also appreciate the idea of still drinking Oktoberfest, but I might get something like really kind of scary high ABV for Halloween. The darker the better, the scarier the better. Okay. Yeah. Something I'm terrified.
Black Ops or something like that.
I might regret this in the morning. Black Tuesday or whatever. You're like, this is terrifying. I might really hate myself tomorrow morning, so this would be worth it.
I kind of think I'm with Daniel on this one, though. On Oktoberfest, that malty autumnal flavor, that seems very appropriate for it. So
yeah.
And Brian, we've got something that we've got to break out, that Halloween seems like it's about the right time for it. From our friends at 1571F, they sent us their beer caramelizer. And for those that have listened to the show in the past, we have talked about like hot beer
fest,
different things where there's one where you brew, I forget what it's called, but they brew it with rocks. And then you can do one where we have a metal rod that you put in your campfire, put in your fire pit, and you heat it up till it's nice and hot. And then you plunge it down in your mug of beer for about 3 or 4 seconds, and it caramelizes some of the malts. So we've done a lot of talking about doing this, but we've never had the tools to do it. So we're going to break out the fire pit soon. We've talked with our friends here at Ironmonger, and we're going to break it out, and we're going to get their Oktoberfest, and we're going to try it before and after caramelizing to see the differences that are made.
And also toasty marshmallow. And go for the super toasty marshmallow.
The super toasty
marshmallow. Get that super caramelized.
I'm looking forward to this, man. I'm looking forward to trying this out.
This is going to be very cool. Wearing a coat and with a blazing hot poker and shoving that into a beer.
Put it right in there, man.
I don't even know if it'll taste good. I think it'll just look awesome and feel awesome. So
Daniel, have you ever made or consumed any hot beers?
Yeah, we actually did that this year for the first time. We did a Bach poke is what we called it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just heat up a piece of metal and you shove it in a beer, and then it tastes different. So it's just like it became. So we had it out on our patio. We just had one person kind of manning the box, the Bach poke, and then people would just come up and they would be like, we were poking everything. It's amazing what.
Yeah, you've got to, don't you?
It's like old social media. Everybody's getting poked.
Everybody,
what's that?
Right? That's Facebook. That's the old Facebook thing, exactly.
A poke in the Bach.
Was there a noticeable difference from pre-poked and poked beers?
Yeah, one tasted warmer and like it just had a metal rod in it.
Okay, all right. I'm looking forward.
This one tastes like metal and heat.
It actually does. It actually does kind of do the caramelized thing. The one beer that we didn't have at the time is we make a beer out of marshmallows. It's like a marshmallow lager that we call Malo, and that would have been a good experiment to actually poke the Malo.
That would have been cool. That's the one we're talking about here. Toasty Marshmallow is a toasted marshmallow stout, and so it's got some of that character to it. That should be a fun one.
I think so.
to
Yeah, I
check
think it'll
out
be
for sure.
the one thing people have mentioned is you will lose some carbonation with it. So if that's that's a big component of the beer that you're burning basically, then maybe it won't work out well. But in some beers, I don't think that'll be as big a deal.
Don't poke your saisons. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know, because there was the whole thing with roaring beers, and farmhouses was one of the things they did, but they always did it with older beers to kind of revive them. And I still have yet to try this, but that involved a saucepan instead of a hot poker. But I assume it would be a similar kind of situation.
All right.
Yeah.
Daniel, have you ever mulled a beer like a Glue Creek?
No, I've had mulled beers, but we've never done it at the brewery.
Okay. We've played around with it at the holidays, trying some of those out. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I like them as well. Well, Tim, I think we should get into the beers of the week before we run out of time.
Brian, again, this is going to shock and awe you, but we've got a great list of beers to try. And we want to thank our friends at the Nest for always sponsoring this segment. Craft Beer Barbecue, downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. Check them out. Get the wings. Get the nachos.
Get the ribs.
The ribs are stepping. Good burger too, Brian.
Yeah.
So
get everything.
I know we proselytize a lot for the wings and the nachos there. But good stuff. Go check them out. And as it is cooling off, they do have a Brunswick stew that they call their KSU stew after the local university. Get you a bowl of stew, Brian.
All right.
Don't let them stop your flow. Nate tells us we're running out of time here, Brian. So let me tell you what we're going to drink. We pre-gamed with one of our favorites, Creature Comforts Classic City Lager. Good drinking beer there. From Freigeist, as we mentioned, Fried Ghost. Their Freigeist beer culture. We have their Abraxas, which is a different Abraxas than the ones that you know. But that is a smoked Lichtenheiner Weissel, Brian, according to the can there. From Victory Brewing, we've got a tall boy here, which I'm surprised Brian did not save for Tall Beer Fridays, but we have a Golden Monkey, which is a triple. And from our guest last week, Bramari Brewing, we've got one left called Sleeping Pigeons, which is a Munich Dunkel.
Indeed.
That we're going to get into. So that'll be a lot of fun. We need to take a quick break. This is Beer Guys Radio, and we will be right back with more from Modist Brewing. Brian, hand me those pellets.
The pellets, yeah.
Daniel, have you ever seen anything like this? So some of our good friends over at the pork rind place, the Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds.
Okay.
We get nice little packages of pork rinds from them, and they actually have seasonal flavors. Check this out. We have cranberry jalapeno pork rinds, and they're really good.
Those are amazing.
I was surprised they're really good.
Yeah.
And we actually have some apple cinnamon pork rinds here.
Cinnamon pork
so a little holiday,
That's
the
pretty
taste
awesome.
of the season. But they sent us these things that they call to get a camera zoom there for everybody. Pork rind pellets, and you can fry these in a pan. You can deep fry these, or even air fry.
Air fry them, yeah, it has it on
and
there.
they pop up into fresh baked fried pork rinds, whatever you want to do.
So it's like instead of popping corn, you're popping
pork.
Popping pork.
That sounds a lot dirtier than it is.
I'm guessing. Did you run into a lot of popping pork over in Hawaii? Because they do like their pork over there.
I suppose I did. Yeah.
He's like, I don't know how to answer that, Brian. I do not know how to answer that. That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
So I have to check that out and see what's going on.
When are we going to get computers where you can hand things through the screen? I mean,
they need to work that out.
It's 2022. Come on, like
right through there.
I was going to say, load up your pork rind paper in your fax machine. We'll fax you over some pork rinds.
That's got to be possible.
Right? Oh, I'm sure that would be. I think it's only so we got 3D printers. It's just a matter of like load your food component stuff and with the seasoning packet, and I'll send them to you.
Now, didn't they figure out like quantum teleportation? Like they not just theoretically, but like they did teleport a particle or something like that?
I think that actually did happen.
We're one step closer, man. Yeah. Join us here again in 200 years.
Yep.
And we'll just give you some pork rinds, right?
Yeah, you'll be able to step through the to the screen and just join us here in the studio. Man.
I mean, it's honestly like so many things. It's like more of a surprise that it hasn't happened yet than it has. Yeah. Like time travel, whatever. It's like I'm not even going to be surprised. I'm just going to be pissed that it took so long.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're from 1800. Like who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
lame.
I'm old now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even enjoy this, man.
It's like you took so long, and I got so old waiting for this to happen.
I'm going straight. We get time travel. I'm going straight back to wrangle some dinosaurs. That's going to be
same.
my thing. Is can I time
So like 8
travel?
seconds with dinosaurs, you can just like hang on to the back. Just
so will we be able to time travel back to our younger selves and then take that? Like, can we do steps and layers to this?
Probably.
Okay. All right. Then I could travel back to when I was a little younger, a little more fit, and enjoy it more. Because I'm going to go to the Coliseum. And
I don't.
Oh, you're like actually transport your body into a younger body.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Am I going too far here?
Yep. That's too far.
Okay.
I think the dinosaur thing was more likely going back.
All right.
You have to use your current old ass body on the dinosaur.
Well, dinosaurs are going to like that with how plump I am.
Yes.
Where we were staying in Hawaii was really close to the Kualoa Ranch. I think that's how you say it. And that's where they've shot every Jurassic Park movie. It literally looks exactly like Jurassic Park, but then you can go on a movie tour there because so many different movies. It's a 4,000 acre privately owned ranch that they just do cool shit with. It's like
that would be awesome.
There's a 2.5 hour long zip line. I don't even know that's possible.
I get tired. Yeah. Like, do you have to hang on to it the entire time?
I have no idea. That's just like the length of that, like 2.5 hours. I mean, that's
man, that's got to be crazy.
I'm
sure they slope it because I mean, what speed would you hit if this was all downhill the whole way?
I got to put down a beer snifter after a few minutes. I mean, like this thing gets heavy. I can't imagine hanging onto a zip line for 2 hours.
Pack some roadies, zippies.
That would be it. They have little people hanging in little bar carts, like when you're running the marathon and you grab a water on the way by.
I would just straight up be asleep by the time I got
hot dog vendor out there holding out holding out his wieners.
Spam vendor.
You grab them as you go by there, grab you a wiener, get you a beer.
You know what? I want to see somebody as a prank do that on the one of the marathons. A guy just has a jar of wieners, just like all sticking out. People just running by looking at him like, what in the
a smoked herring.
Herrings, just fried fish sticks or something, just sticking out of a box. People are like, what in the hell is happening here?
But do it in line with like 4 other people holding out those glasses of water. So it's like water, fish.
Somebody grabs
water, fish.
Water, fish. Exactly. Makes sense to me, man.
It's badly fried. Oily.
What fun. Good stuff.
A lot of those runners could use it.
Yeah, right. Some protein there.
They need that. They need a little fat to keep them going, I think.
Those people are inhuman.
That's right.
Marathon runners.
Those people.
I don't trust them.
Right.
Anybody who runs and they're not being chased for that long, there's something wrong with them. They can't be trusted.
What do you want to do? Just run.
Just run. And just you have plans and somebody chasing you or getting away from something. No, I just want to run.
No, like I just felt like running.
You're suspicious. There's something.
Yeah. Do we need another beer before we fire up this next segment?
Yeah, we probably should.
Manny, you're a traveling flag football team going to Hawaii. That must be some serious flag football.
Yeah, it is kind of. So it's an LGBTQ league called the Minnesota Gay Flag Football League, and so this tournament, it's like the Super Bowl of gay flag football. It's called the Gay Bowl, and it's like, and it
literally had no idea that existed.
I had never heard of this before.
I know. So it's a big deal in the community, and like this bowl tournament rotates cities, and so this year just happened to be in Honolulu. I'm like, okay, I guess I better go.
Yeah.
But then, like, I think next year it's in Indianapolis or something. It's been in New York and I don't know, Tampa. It kind of just rotates around. So that was a fun little excuse to get out. And I've never been to Hawaii before. So
that's crazy, man. That's something. So is it just the game? Is there a whole thing with it?
There's thousands of people that play in this thing.
Okay.
It's huge. Right. There's opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies. Usually there's like NFL players that, are representing their teams. Like a couple of years ago in New York City, the closing address was by Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's just like, so people crazy. Really like, we're sponsored by the Minnesota Vikings. It's like
wow. Okay.
It's probably just all their kind of diversity arms trying to figure out what to do, whatever. But
like, all right, let's support this. This sounds like something we should support.
So that sounds like a significant undertaking. I was saying, you were saying earlier that it's like, I wasn't really on vacation. I'm like, you're playing flag football. Of course you're on vacation. But you know what? You've got enough pomp and ceremony there that I think that perhaps it does sound like it's more of an occupation than
Yeah, and I just turned 40, so this is my first time playing sports as a 40-year-old, and it's like, I don't know. I know age is just a number, but it's definitely like in your head.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I was getting pretty beat up.
You feel it though, man. Each year they come on, you feel them a little bit more.
Yep.
Got your stickers, Brian. You seem puzzled.
Oh yeah, I need to send stickers to that guy.
Get off your tail.
Yeah,
I do not like this beer.
Yeah, it's
I do not like this. I believe someone put one of those smoked herrings in this beer. Have you had this one before, Daniel?
It's
the Freigeist Abraxas.
Can we get a
Nope.
close up on this guy?
No.
Part of the reason I picked it up is because it was we talked about a Lichtenheiner, I think something close to that on a previous show. And I'm like, oh, hey, there's one right there. And it's smoked. I'm like, ooh, Tim will love this.
Yeah, I don't. It's not even the smoke in that one. I just don't care for that beer.
Freigeist?
Yeah, Freigeist.
Yeah. It's okay.
No, it isn't.
It's not my thing. And honestly, I'm not sure how long it was sitting there, but it was in the refrigerated section.
Yeah.
So perhaps
I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to taste. And it's quite possible that it is, and it's just not my thing. So I also do get metallic notes in that one.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I'd
right.
never had it. I had to give it a shot. And
You just don't know if you don't try.
I also
Brian.
kind of
So
wanted
true.
to make you drink smoked beer.
Thanks. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right.
That was going to be my other answer to what beers we should be drinking this time. Is I thought last year we did a beer called Campfire Jeans, which is a smoked Helles, and it was really good. I mean, smoked beers you got to be real careful with because a little bit goes a long way. And so I think we just like our brewers just nailed it.
It's all right.
Yeah. We've talked about I am in principle against most smoked beers, but I'm not against smoke as a flavor component in a beer. And we've mentioned this hundreds of times, but one that kind of turned me a little bit on smoke in beers is Switchback out of Vermont.
Okay.
And he just does he sent us this cool little tasting kit, and he does one with, like, he'll tell you this is 5% smoke malt, and these are the notes you can expect. This is 10%, this is 12, this is it. So, kind of lets you know where you go as you step up the levels of the smoke. And, again, especially if there's smoke as a flavor component and it's not the defining character of the beer, I can enjoy that, especially with like roasty malt, like stouts that may have a little smoky component to them. Yeah, I'm about that.
Well, Drafty Kilt is a wee heavier Scotch ale, and it has a smoky component from Monday Night, and that's won awards a number of times. And that's one that you have said that you enjoy.
I dig it
because smoke is a flavor involved in it. It is not the end goal of the beer. So I'm going to swap it out with a Yingling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I think nuance is the word. I like if it's nuance. I think that nuance in craft beer is kind of disintegrating as the years go by. I think, we've been in a stage of just kind
says
of
the man making pastry lagers.
Yes, exactly. But that's even inside of the pastry lager sphere, that's like kind of our nuanced versus a pastry stout. Like it's still like kind of designed to be a drinkable beer first, but still a pastry lager.
It's still
nuance is missing.
Well, I was gonna say,
give me that pastry lager
with craft beer. I'm like, what didn't it? A lot of the big stuff started off straight up with Dogfish Head just coming out with like crazy off-centered ales. Like that almost defines what craft beer was at one point in time.
Without especially that, they're not even that insane anymore.
I know. So. Yeah, it's like, so when we first started, I mean, Modist is a spin on the word modify. Like we kind of, that's what the philosophy was, is like, hey, let's just take craft beer and screw it up. You're like, just like, put stupid things in beers and maybe people like it, maybe they won't. And then, but now it's just, so like we got all this hype, like what an innovative brewery, whatever. And now it's just like kind of par for the course. And now we're just kind of spinning. It's like, what is innovation anymore? It's like, if you've already put gummy worms in a beer,
where do we go from here? Where do we go?
What is the next step beyond
Steven just commented, talk about the wee heavy. He said smoke is allowed, but not the main part of it. So that's kind of where I am. Like if the beer itself is good, and then there's a little bit there, like you said, Daniel, that nuance that's there as a part of the supporting cast of the beer.
Yeah. So like, and we still we'll do the most ridiculous things, but we still have always kind of done traditional lagers. And we launched with, half of our portfolio were just lagers, clean lagers. And we'll never not do that because we just think it's important for beer and craft beer drinkers to have kind of some of those staples, even though we put a spin on it or whatever, a grain bill or, different hop profiles. But so we modify it in some way, but it's still just, we like beer flavored beers.
Yeah. That's what, this classic city lager here from Creature. That's one that it's a beer. It's a beer.
That's a really good beer. I'd forgotten how good that was.
Yeah.
And GABF medal winner this year.
Yeah. I've loved everything I've had from Creature, and I got an opportunity to see their CEO owner talk at CBC this year. I think he's a very compelling personality. So
yeah, they're, one thing that they did, we've mentioned this several times, that they were kind of a turning point for Georgia beer when they opened up here. It raised the bar. It really did raise the bar for Georgia beer. And anytime I say that, I feel like I'm slighting the guys that were already here, but I don't mean it that way.
I think it forced the guys that were already here to step up their game.
Yeah. But we brought in a tropical IPA, we started heading that direction before these Northeast haze boys and stuff that they have, we started doing that. And we've had the last 5 years, just some phenomenal stuff.
Oh yeah.
Open in Georgia. It's just been
crazy. We definitely have. I don't know that if we could have said it. 10. We definitely couldn't have said it 10 years ago. World class beers, I don't think, but now we definitely can. We can, and we have been able to say that for 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
And it's growing the selection of stuff that is in fact world class and does deserve medals at GABF and other international competitions.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're there.
I agree. Yep. Cool. All right. We don't want to take you forever tonight, Daniel. So we'll jump back into this radio show.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
What in tarnation?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on the Podcast Park and all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Modist Brewing Company.
Modist Brewing Company. Daniel, we're going to start out with some kind of standard fare questions, kind of let folks know about Modist. So you're one of the founders. How did Modist get started?
So there's 4 of us owners. The 3 other guys all went to high school together. Kind of like they have the romantic brewing beer in a garage story, which I don't share. I just kind of came in and on the investor side, and hey, I like spreadsheets and stuff. How about I get to? I can do cool stuff.
I love a good spreadsheet too. True story.
But so they kind of, the philosophy of Modist, which is a spin on the word modify. So Modist is a person who modifies. That kind of started because they overbuilt. They're all kind of like engineer gearhead types, and they overbuilt this homebrew system that they named Bronson, and it could just kind of make anything. So they started entering in homebrew competitions, and they found that they had a hard time kind of being pigeonholed into a certain category. Like, oh, this is a great IPA, but it has too much rye. Like they made in a homebrew setup, they made an IPA that had 60% rye as the malt bill. And so that beer actually was one of our launch beers that we ended up calling Wasteland. And so they just kind of like, we're a little bit off the beaten path for this was probably 10 years ago now, for, falling into, style guidelines. So that kind of like jump started the philosophy, became a business plan. They all kind of worked at local breweries, so some notable local breweries, kind of formed, got some experience. We launched this thing, and then the whole idea is that we had this philosophy to make beers that, kind of push the envelope outside of style guidelines. And then to back up that philosophy, we invested in a Belgian-built Mira mash filter. So a mash filter system replaces a large ton of a traditional system. So we basically brew beer horizontally, and the easiest way to understand it is it like brews beer more like a French press versus a drip coffee filter. So it's like plates that have, screens and filters, and then pneumatic pressure that will, sparge and kind of wring out the grains. And so that allows us to basically brew beer with, any grains and any percentage. So that just kind of fueled that original garage philosophy to like, hey, let's just make beers that are 100% wheat or 100% rye or all oats and barley. And so that's just
rye saws. Do you still have to use your rye saws and stuff with the mash filter?
We don't. I mean, we've pushed it so far that we've jammed the thing. It's not impossible to jam, but we get a lot more leeway there.
And for those that aren't familiar really with the brewing process, the typical is you have a big kettle pot, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
You soak the grains in, and then it kind of drains off the bottom, and it takes a lot of water to get the extraction that you want and keep that, because a lot of it stays in the grains. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm very limited in the knowledge of the mash filter system, but you're able to get more of the liquid out of the grains, and therefore get more extraction from the grains.
Yeah, so
less water to do the same brew, correct?
So absolutely. So we brew beer with a third of the water. So traditional system, 8 to 10 gallons of water per gallon of beer. It could be on the high end depending on your system. We do it in probably like 3 to 4, 3 to 5. So
that's impressive.
So there's this huge green element, which was kind of, like we repost a blog every Earth Day. It's like that's just one part of what we do. It's like extremely environmentally conscious, but it's just a byproduct of us like going for the system that lets us do all this crazy stuff. So it's the same system essentially that the biggest brewers in the world use, Budweiser, Heineken. So they use it because it's a fraction of the water. So they do it for cost savings. You can use less grain and get more out of it, like you're saying. So we get all those benefits, but we also can like just kind of experiment. So that's kind of when we got it. I think we were the 7th in the U.S. To have it at this size at the craft scale, because that was like kind of the big green light that went off in the manufacture of our brew house. Is mine is they made a Miro, which makes huge mash bills, and they've been around for 200 years, 180 years. They made a trade show model just so it fit through a door, like at a convention center. And the guy saw it. I'm like, well, why can't they just make that for craft breweries? And then they did. And so then, now there's probably a dozen in the US, something like that. So,
and Danny, do I understand right that they're also a little more friendly with doing smaller batches? You have more flexibility in batch size?
Yeah, you can basically set your vessel size or like your batch size to, by only running through. It's a system of plates. We have 45 plates, and so you can kind of end that final plate wherever you want. So we brew in 20 barrel batches, so 20, 40s, 80s up. But we can go down lower than that. Like we'll brew a 10 barrel batch or less. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility.
So with that concept, you've got the press and the pressure. I'm wondering, have you had to compensate in any way how you do things for like additional astringency or things extracted from the grain under pressure that you wouldn't ordinarily get in beer? I'm not sure if that's something that might be getting too into the weeds, but that's what I think when I hear that.
Oh, I've gotten really good over the years at saying that's more of a Keegan question, which is like our
Keegan.
Yeah, get him on the phone.
As the marketing guy, I like to talk about like the engraved logo in the manways and whatever. But I have heard
we can get into the teal floors. I understand you have lovely teal floors.
Oh yeah, that's the teal floors have gotten us a lot of love. But to answer your question, because I have heard that before, the tannins and like some kind of that astringency, like it doesn't happen because it moves so fast. So like the speed of which it moves, and it is beyond my understanding of like why it actually happens, but from the manufacturers and we've seen it, in real life, is that you don't get that tannic flavor because of it doesn't sit long enough to kind of gather it. So
that would probably be more from an over extraction of soaking
the
too
steeping,
long
for too hot of
like making tea.
Exactly.
Tea too long,
too long or too hot, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. I had no idea. I was thinking you add pressure to it, you're just going to wring those grains out, plus all the tannins therein. So, yeah.
So the other benefit, because it's like, you know, of how it moves vessel to vessel, is like you can stack brews like, you know, more efficiently. So like you can be mashing in one brew as something's filtering out into the brew kettle, and you can be grinding in right behind it. So like we have a 20 barrel vessel, but we can do, you know, so one turn will take us, you know, call it 5-6 hours to brew 20 barrels. But if we do 40, 60, 80, you know, it just only adds a couple hours on to the day. So we can kind of stack up. And so within a, you know, 10, 12-hour day, we can get 4 turns out of it and get 80 barrels of beer.
That is impressive. And I'm like, why aren't other breweries doing this? Because if you could do that much more in the same day with that little amount of time added, that just makes a lot of sense. Plus the water savings alone.
Yeah. Cost is why it's just like, well, there's only one manufacturer that has this Belgian built one. And so they only do 1 or 2 a year, you know, because they're like a small company. But then it's also like, it's probably twice what a normal, you know, brewing system is. So like when you're in startup mode, you know, you have to really believe in this thing to say, okay, I'm going to raise that much more money or go into that much more debt to like for this thing that, you know, for half the price I can get through a couple, because it's going to, you know, the water savings will add up, but it'll be, you know, 7-10 years, and to think that far down the road isn't really natural.
If you're trying to just get off the ground and survive for the next 2 years, I'm guessing that's not a high priority thing. But
that's one of my favorite things is when you see brewers talk about drink local, buy American, all this, and then the next picture is, hey, we're here in Shanghai with our stainless supplier getting some new tanks.
That's a good point.
It's like, so you pay a little more here, but drink that American beer made in those Chinese tanks.
Yep.
True.
Yeah. So, is there more to the till floors? I noticed Brian had that on the thing. Is this just a focal point there?
Yes. I think the story, albeit not the best one, is that we were working with a flooring company, and there's like, they had, you know, samples of the floor, which most brewery floors are like this kind of oranges color, brown oranges, whatever, red, I don't know, burnt sienna. I forget my Crayola colors, but there's like, so this is what most brewers go with. And we're like, well, do we have to, can it be other colors? We're like, oh yeah, we can make it any color. And there's like, we're just like, dope. Like, let's make it teal. Cause I was like,
for teal,
the color of the gas tank it was color of Kale's gas tank on his motorcycle. So that's the story.
There you go.
Excellent.
The teal story.
That's right.
You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be right back with more from Modist Brewing. Clear.
It was
Daniel, just a heads up. I thought Nate was giving me the 1 minute signal and he was giving me the wrap it up. So I may have to cut the teal floor story.
I
am not mad about it.
Or get rid of the snarky comments about, buying your equipment elsewhere and drinking American beer, that sort of thing. Oh, no. Okay. Keep that in.
Those were intentional.
Okay. You keep that in.
Those were intentional comments.
I was thinking,
American brewers.
Wait, who's making tanks in the U.S. right
now?
Well,
that is part of the conversation. Is like the tanks that are made in China, like, are sometimes the only option, and depending on the company, they're like made and designed here, kind of like Apple, or like they're designed here, but they manufactured there because it's the only place that'll make them. So you get backed in a corner pretty quick if you actually want to have tanks, because there's not that many people
designed by Apple,
because there was a couple of Canadian places that did. I don't know how many there were. I know one of them,
big one, that went under. We had a few local guys that had tanks get stuck.
Yes,
had
they did.
Fermenters and whole brew houses get stuck because of that.
And I think most of the guys that we know of eventually got their equipment eventually.
One thing I've come to find out is that like all Chinese suppliers are not the same. Like, there's some that are like very good engineers and very good fabricators.
Yeah.
And then you can get the ones that you would imagine that are garbage. Like, we see them around town here. Like, that you're brewing beer in that, and then some are like, designed well and have like double jacketed, you know, like the heavy gauge, like, you know, the best quality tanks in the world, because, you know, you're working with a direct pipeline to someone who actually knows how to make it. So it really depends.
Since I envisioning guys sticking their fingers in holes in the tanks. Well, it's
since I dish trash talked, I won't call anybody out, but I will say I know one brewer who said he really likes his supplier. Like they have a relationship, and he has, you know, flown over to look at the product, and they've worked with him to customize per his needs and that. So, but it won't stop me from talking trash, Brian.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
buy local, but manufacture
yes.
international.
Yeah. I'll appease you and cut that out. We'll leave it in for the folks that enjoyed the live show.
You would have a good point, but I was thinking, I'm not sure how many options you have for tanks here in the U.S. these days.
I will say, even if the options are limited, I find it a bit hypocritical.
Okay.
So,
oh, for sure.
That's you know,
it's so, I mean, like, yeah, like to start kind of looking around our tables and stuff and trying to figure out how we would even survive without, you know, that global economy is kind of silly. So it's more about just doing what you can when you can. And there's something.
Yeah. Well, that's Brian and I are both pocket knife nerds, and we have a decent collection. And from within that community, there's a huge group of people who refuse to buy Chinese made knives. Yep. And much like you're talking about with the tanks, there are really crappy Chinese knife makers, and there's Chinese knife makers that make really good product at a reasonable price. Yeah. So one brand specifically, Civivi, that we like, very nice pocket knives. And
I'd brandish mine now, but I'm not carrying one. So
not carrying.
That one. I'm carrying my ridiculous cleaver.
I believe the knife. I believe this may be a Chinese made knife,
possibly Chinese. Yeah,
from Cobra Tech, my Cobra Tech enforcer out the. See, I feel like I'm brandishing weapons doing this, but it's really just I use it strictly to like
open Amazon
boxes and that. But it is an out the front switchblade.
Oh, cool. So, I love knives.
Yeah. So that's it is, and
we're showing off knives.
It is aircraft grade aluminum on the body and housing of this, Brian, with this double action.
That knife is a cool knife. I like the feel of it, the aluminum situation.
You got the red one on this, didn't you?
I did.
I've
got the red. I like the red.
Yeah.
And I open up Amazon boxes with such relish. This guy right here.
So
it's just a massive cleaver.
Yeah.
It's so a bunch of different discounts and getting it through Amazon. I wound up getting it for under $20, and it's probably it's probably 70 more.
Brian, I don't know how much. With a little lean to the right hand side because it weighs like 40 pounds.
Jeez.
But it's huge. It looks big, but the actual length of the blade is not much different than any other pocket knife. But man, do I enjoy opening up an Amazon package with that.
It kind of reminds me. I bought this knife for my partner who just bought a houseboat last year. Mm-hmm. And so like I was at a marine store, and they just had this like really cool knife section, and I like found one that's similar to that. I'm like, that just looks too cool not to buy. And so I'm like, I don't know, maybe we'll cut rope with it or stuff, but I haven't really been on a boat much in my life. We have yet to use it, but it's like,
the knife or the boat,
the knife.
Okay.
The boat a handful of times.
Yeah.
But the big dream is next year to actually live on the boat for a summer. So that'd be cool.
That'd be great.
So I got divorced a number of years ago, and I had thought about that. I was either going to get me a cool bachelor pad I live in I'm a suburbanite. So, and I thought about moving into Atlanta, and then I saw that I had to double the price for half the space to move in town. I decided that wasn't worth it. So I was going to go the other way. And we've got a big lake here, Lake Lanier. And there's a lot of folks there that get a boat, and it never leaves the slip. They just, they dock it up there. And I even saw the dock, Brian, they would take and build like a little raised bed planter and plant grass at the edge of their thing and stuff, like make a little front yard for their boat. Mm-hmm. And they would just go out there like it was their weekend home. They'd go out there and just sit around, enjoy the boat.
And that would be awesome. The only thing is I've seen Lake Lanier go basically almost bone dry in some of the inlets, and those things are just laying on the ground. So you would have to, it would be like you've lost all the ground around your home. You'd have to sail it off somewhere else. I don't know what
the reverse, all water coming up on your home. Either way, it's going to
too much water or too little water. Both are problems. Both are problems.
Yeah, hers is on the Mississippi River, and so early in the year, like the docks are like designed so they like will lift all, like they'll lift up 12 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they'll like kind of recess back down as you get later in the year. And so it's pretty cool. It's a cool little society down there. And some people stay year round, even though like we're in Minnesota and the river does like freeze for most of it. But they'll put little bubblers on their boat to keep the ice off of them, and make like little like teepee type tarp things to kind of protect them from the wind. We're not that hardcore yet, but
I'm always amazed that the Mississippi freezes, because that river, well, I guess there's other places it's not
just up by us. You know, like we're really close to the headwaters. And so I still wouldn't walk across it, and you know, barges still will plow through it. So it doesn't I lived in Arkansas, very northeast tip Arkansas, like Missouri, Boot Hill, Tennessee, Arkansas area, and was seriously 5 miles from the Mississippi there. But it's just, I mean, just screaming fast there, you know, going through. But sounds like I could jump on that and just stroll right up to your houseboat then, huh? You could
just head north.
So people actually do that. People do that. Like so our houseboat is, I say our, even though I didn't buy it, but you know, whatever.
It's our boat.
It's our boat now. I bought a knife.
That's right. There, you did your part.
I did your part.
I got property on that boat. So, but people will go, it's like saltwater rated. So people will go from, you know, Mississippi River down through the Gulf of Mexico, around the coast of Florida, up past Georgia, all East Coast, all the way to New York City, through into the Great Lakes, and go into Lake Michigan and get to the Illinois River, back to the Mississippi. It's called the Great Loop. It's like a 4-month.
That would be fun.
Wow, I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, me either. And there's like there's a website dedicated to it, like the Great Loop or something.
So the short of it is, I just learned we live on an island.
We live on an island.
Yeah,
basically. Islanders. I could sense the Islanders.
That's right.
I'm going to lean into that so hard.
So we're
Tom Dantana.
Islander. Yeah.
Aren't we all kind of Islanders?
You're right. Yeah.
In a way, if you go big enough, we're all kind of Islanders.
I saw something I don't remember where it was posted, but someone was on Google Maps and they were zoomed out to the whole earth, and they zoomed in to an island, and they zoomed anyhow. It went like 5 levels deep, like an island in a lake, and an island in an island. So down to this tiny island on this lake on this island. So
yep, we're one of those.
Third rock from the sun, Brian.
Exactly. Indeed.
Cool. Nate, let's jump on back in. Going into 3, correct?
Yeah. Looks
okay.
like it.
All right.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Your revolution is over, Mr. Lebowski. Condolences, the bum's lost.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KNUJ, 860 AM and 97.3 FM in New Ulm, Minnesota. Catch Beer Guys Radio and KNUJ every Saturday at 4 a.m. and again at 8 p.m. Now let's get back to Modist Brewing Company.
Daniel, a couple things I would like to talk about in this segment that a lot of times they kind of go hand in hand together is THC and pastries. So I think that one begats the other at time to time, but I guess it's been a few months ago now, Brian. At the time, Daniel, we didn't know these existed, but you have fulfilled some of our dreams here. I made a joke about a pastry lager. Yep. And I said, so who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? And Daniel, you must have heard me, and you said, I'm going to do it. So
got one.
You
right
do
here.
A pastry lager.
Yeah, so we've actually done them since day one. We didn't say pastry lager out of the get go, but we started just kind of giving into that. I'm like, I guess it is a pastry lager. So from one of the first beers we ever made was First Call cold pressed coffee lager. I don't know if you guys can even see it.
That sounds good. I'm already on board with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Coffee lager, yes.
So utilize mash filter. It's heavily oats in the malt bill, rest is barley, but there's milk sugar in there, and then some locally roasted espresso roast coffee, and it's just like it's a blonde colored coffee lager that like it's literally sparkling coffee.
I'm on board for that.
Heavily odored, and it's got lactose in it, milk sugar.
It's ready for you,
That's
Brian.
insane. I'm the texture of that's got to be insane. I got to get me some of this.
There's a brewery over in Huntsville called Rocket Republic.
Yes,
that does coffee cream ale.
Yep.
That I just dig. It's got the the sweet creaminess in that, and it's just stellar stuff. So
Carton's regular coffee is a pretty solid one too, and we do get that down here. I think from time to time. I'm not sure how often it's available, but we get it down here. It's a classic
from Funky Boot, and I can't remember what was it called. The Love Below, the Rice Krispie treat. And was that a lager or just a light ale? But
I think I might have been a porter.
I think probably playing it. No, this one was a blonde beer.
Was it a blonde one?
Or okay. It was a lighter beer. But anyhow, those flavors. I mean, you've got a pretty nice light canvas there to showcase the flavors you add, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the appeal of this, like this pastry lager genre, which I can't not smile when I say pastry lager, because it's so not nuanced. But it also is it's built in a light beer, so you don't have to do much with so one of the first ones we did that we called the pastry lager was Nice Crispy Treats. It was a collaboration with the brewery Forager here in Minnesota. And so it just tastes like Rice Krispie Treats in a lager. But it's still a beer. I mean, I think that when you get these pastry stouts and stuff, or pastry, fruited sours, they end up not really being a beer, which is still great a lot of the time. But the pastry lagers, we still kind of make it a beer. It's this is definitely a beer, but it's also cold pressed coffee, and it's also milk sugar, and it's all, so the beer still kind of sits as a headline, where a marshmallow whatever stout is just it's marshmallow whatever, and then you get it's chocolate and it's vanilla, but it's also it might be a beer, but it also just might be syrup.
It's syrup at 18% ABV.
Yes, exactly.
That's what you got.
Alcoholic syrup. I'm curious with that. So that first call, is it first call? Is that what it's called?
First call. Yep.
Is there a lot of caffeine in that? I've always wondered with these things.
So we kind of, to our math, which is, I'm no mathematologist,
right?
But it's about a half cup of coffee, maybe a quarter cup of coffee. So if you're really sensitive caffeine, and I have these people in my life, they'll drink one first call and they'll be wired because they don't really drink coffee. I drink coffee all day, every day. So it's it's kind of whatever to me, but it's but it'll keep you up. It's it's kind of, what do we say? It's a easy. It's a 24-hour beer, easy drinking pale lager with mind-blowing coffee punch. So it's I don't know. It's an 11 a.m. beer. It's your brunch beer, but it's also late night pick me up, type of thing.
Have one before you go to bed.
Yeah, I made that mistake last week. We actually have some canned water in here, some sparkling water that's got caffeine in it, and I grabbed one and didn't think about it, drank it later, and then went and had a latte, and then I was up till 3 a.m. As
a guy who likes to also drink coffee all day, I am very impressed with the caffeine delivery system of that seltzer. I don't know if it's the carbonation. It hits you fast. It hits you fast, and I don't know if it's more than your standard cup of coffee. I think it's about the same, but man, I think it all hits you at once as part of it. It'll get you flying a little bit. So it's nice.
And sometimes the combination of things get you feeling way faster. Just the fact that it's 6.5% alcohol, so it's by no means a light lager. We had a local journalist call it the Four Loko of craft beer or something like that.
Four Loko of craft. Yeah. There you go.
So
we were talking about, kind of how we led into this, talking about the pastry lagers, to jump topics, tie in here. If you have some of your seltzers, it may put you in the mood for some pastries, correct? THC Seltzer.
Yeah. So this is new for us. I do have a couple of cans to show off. So it's called TINT. It's an acronym for Thanks I Needed That.
Okay. All right.
How do mirrors work? And so we do a couple different flavors and a couple different strengths. So there's a 5 milligram THC, that's the pineapple raspberry, and then 2 3 milligram flavors, blackberry lime, and a mango passion fruit. How do mirrors work? But
there we go. And we will say for our radio listeners, we have a video feed here in the studio.
Right.
So you may not be able to see these, but we'll share some pictures.
They're very colorful cans.
Check out our social. We'll share some pics.
TINT.
TINT.
Yes.
Thanks. I need.
If you're on the radio and you can't see this, you're not trying hard enough.
You know, the technology, we should be there.
Well,
right?
You just have to
clearly.
believe.
You need to have a few of those cans of tint, and then you'll be able to see them.
Something where you can both see and hear people at the same time.
Yes. Yes.
One day.
Yeah, one day. That'll
we'll
happen.
get that together. Absolutely. So I don't know this. I'm going to make an assumption here. I'm assuming this is legal in Minnesota. You can casually partake there, right?
Yeah. So this is kind of the funny story of how this came to be, is that Minnesota kind of backed its way into legalizing this. And so it got some national news because, you know, some people who didn't vote for it or didn't know, some people in the legislature didn't actually know what they were doing, so they legalized THC without knowing it.
I remember that now that you mentioned we accidentally legalized weed.
People in the legislature didn't know what they were doing. I cannot believe this would be true.
Go figure. But there is a good reason why they wouldn't. Like, it's so hard to comprehend. So basically, Minnesota adopted the federal government's definition of hemp. So in 2018, under the Trump administration, they passed the Farm Bill, which basically it took hemp-derived products off the federally, you know, protected, you know, drug list. So it's, you know, it's no longer like a criminal thing. So hemp-derived. And so, but in that they defined what hemp was, which hemp is the same plant as marijuana. It just has less THC. So THC is the psychoactive drug in marijuana. That's what gets you high. So the same identical plant, but one of them just has THC that's harder to access, but it's still there. So like so basically, they draw a line saying like, hey, it's considered hemp if it's less than 0.3% dry weight THC. That anything above that's marijuana, anything below that's hemp. But if you legalize hemp-derived products, you can legally consume THC. It's just in that hemp plant, it's harder to extract. So in marijuana, really easy to get to. In hemp, hard to get to, but people are very willing to do it. And so,
yeah, exactly.
But they really kind of like, it's such a hard thing to wrap your head around. So it's like, so they legalize hemp-derived products, and one of those is THC or CBD. You know, so it's like it's hemp-derived THC, but the THC that comes from hemp and the THC that comes from marijuana are molecularly the same. So
okay, I think here in Georgia we have, is it Delta 9, Delta 10, something like that?
I think Delta 8 was the big one.
Delta 8 is the one. Yeah. So apparently it's just a loophole thing because of where it's derived from.
Yep. And so Delta 8 is kind of like the knockoff. Like it's like a kind of a chemical workaround, whatever, and there hasn't been as much, you know, study put into that. But Delta 9 is like kind of like the natural occurring one. So Delta 9 is like what people want. You know, that's like the true. That's like the
Delta
true.
9 is the stuff.
Yeah. Delta 9 is the stuff.
And
so that's like, so like it was verified shortly after. Like, so you're legalizing hemp-derived products, and that includes Delta 9, right? Like, yep. As long as it's under this threshold.
As long as it's hemp, go for it.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to enjoy some pastries and other products, and we'll be right back to talk more with Modist Brewing. So we have apple cinnamon pork rinds here. Would this be pastry pork?
A pastry pork?
Pastry.
Yeah. We got pastry pork
I'm going to keep that in mind. So what I gather is Delta 9 is what people want. Delta 8 is what we'll do in a pinch.
Yeah. Delta 8 is your, I don't know. It's I wouldn't call it a knockoff. It could be perfectly fine. I'd like the people that manufacture our THC. They're like, if you talk to those people who are like the most in it, they'll say Delta 8, like stay away from it. It's like we don't know enough about it. It will still get you high. You know, it might be a different high. But this has all just been kind of a whirlwind. I'm not a smoker. Like I don't smoke pot. I'll have a gummy here and there. And you know, and so this whole world was kind of sold to me. Like, are people even gonna like this? You know, like I I know a lot of people who smoke pot, but like if they smoke pot, is that even like the client that we want? Like, because these are really low doses. I don't know if you guys ever do any gummies or whatever, but 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams for someone who partakes on a daily basis isn't like.
I was going to say that one of the things we didn't get to is I was questioning why you had chosen the doses you did, because we had Saria on and they do a THC, a beer, non-alcoholic THC beer. And I believe they start at 5 milligrams and they go up to 10, which they were saying was, in their experience, more equivalent to the experience of having those.
I think you said beers. Like the 5 was one you could have and just kind of chill out.
Yeah.
And just enjoy being mellow, or if you wanted more of a buzz, you could step it up. To
you start up, to the 10. So I noticed yours was like 3 to 5. So I'm like, oh, yours is on the lighter side, but maybe that's what people want.
I kind of think about it like ABV, but it's probably obviously it's person to person, but so is beer, or so is alcohol. But 3% or 3 milligrams is kind of like 3%. You can have a couple of them and not really feel anything. But some people could have a couple 3% beers and be hammered. But for people who are, bigger or more frequent users, you're not really going to get anything out of this. But it's such a wild card because we've had people who like literally, like friends of friends. I don't know them personally, but like who dabble all day every day and may even partake in selling the stuff. We're off air, right?
We are sort of,
but well,
allegedly,
friends of friends who are just like, oh my god, this stuff like it works so fast, and it's like it's such a perfect high so soon, and it's kind of cool because versus like an edible, this is a liquid, and so it's like you don't really have to pass through the same digestive system, so you kind of know where you're at sooner. So
take the express lane.
It's not solid, so it can be absorbed quicker. And I think that there is definitely something in it. The thing we've noticed with caffeine, and I think I've noticed with other things, I think carbonation in the same context with whatever you're taking does something to accelerate the process. And I don't know if it's increases its additional availability of CO2 helps with the processing of these things by the body. I don't know, because I know that. Like drinking carbonated, like I used to drink Diet Sprite after having some beers. One thing I noticed is after drinking a Sprite, after having a number of beers, I might not feel anything. After the Sprite, I always felt like it felt like everything hit me at once.
Okay.
The same thing with that caffeinated water. That stuff hits me like a train, whereas I can sit and drink a coffee at home. That'll hit me like over the course of the next 45 minutes to an hour. So I think that. Now I'm just, kind of wackadoodle conspiracy theory type of stuff, but I think there's something about all the CO2 that's available readily there with what you're consuming accelerates the process. And I have no idea what it is because I'm not a chemist.
I do not enjoy CBD or THC products. I do not find anything for me personally. I don't find the experience enjoyable.
Yep.
And I was having some sleep issues and I'm old and out of shape. So the bones start feeling different. And so I was getting some CBD really for just relaxation and sleep. And I felt worse. I don't feel like it did anything good for me. I feel like the other way around. And then I did try, was it the 8 that we decided we get in Georgia?
Yeah.
And no, not for me.
Does not agree with me. That actually made me feverish when I tried it out.
Yeah.
What you need to get into is opium.
I'd rather have a hot mug of cocoa,
opium
Brian.
Right.
Opium?
Yeah. Opium den, a lot of pillows, big pipes.
Did it have Delta 8 opium here in Georgia?
Probably.
Now, something else I was considering, but I haven't been there. What about heroin?
Oh, I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, like,
nice,
do you like needles?
I love needles.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like heroin's for me.
It's way better if you snort it. So.
There you go. See?
Yeah. I don't actually have any idea if you can do it other ways. I just know it's always been the hot needle, and because I grew up in the grunge area, and that was the drug of choice by everybody who made music that I listened to. So it was. Yeah, so that's what I was aware of, but
the drug du jour.
Yeah, it was the drug of choice. I never got into it because honestly, I hate freaking needles, man. I really hate needles.
Yeah.
So
no thanks to that. I've never had, so my experience with THC, like I don't know, smoking pot as a teen or in college, whatever. Like I always enjoyed it for like 5 to 10 minutes, and like where everything's just like super funny and great, and it's just like you're in this kind of surreal state. That's hilarious, but I would always fall asleep like immediately. So I usually would pass because it's just like, okay, I'll smoke with you guys, but that means the end of my night. Like I could not make it. It doesn't matter what strain, because people talk about sativa or indica, which, right. They don't like, that doesn't really, did never really work for me. So it's like, I'd always have a really good excuse to pass. I'm like, I don't know. I just like, I'm not ready to sleep yet. So, but then, so this stuff is like, I haven't had that reaction. I've only tried to get high. We've been selling this for a month now. I've only tried to get high like twice, and it only worked when I was like not drinking, because it's like, it's such a low dose. If you're drinking alcohol also, it's just like, it just kind of blends together.
Yeah. So
it's like controlled experiments. Like a lady and I went hiking, and so it was actually like really cool hiking, HIGH King.
Hiking. Okay.
Yeah, hiking. Yeah.
That's a term we coined on the way, but it was like the perfect fit. It's like these seltzers, they're really like, there's no calories in them. So there's like, it's like 10 calories, or I don't know, it's probably 20 calories in the whole thing. But it's just, so it's really refreshing and tastes like kind of herbally.
You got to shoot them, like punch a hole in the bottom of the can, and just, that's what you need to do.
And at the end of it, which felt really good, but you could still drink it while you're like running through a forest, which is cool.
That's pretty cool. I have a friend who is just very high strung, very wired. She's just constantly bouncing off the walls and that. And she mentioned that she gets, I don't remember the THC level or anything, but it's a low dose one. And she said, like, going out on a Friday night, 5 o'clock will come around, she'll pop one of these low dose THC seltzers that she gets. And then she'll go out and like have dinner, go to a movie, have a few drinks and stuff. And she said, I don't ever feel high, but I'm calmed down. That makes the rest of the night more enjoyable. Like I get a little bit of chill from it. And then, I go out and have my drinks and have my dinner and movie. And it's just a very chill, enjoyable evening.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a thing that does that for me too. It's called beer.
Beer.
Well, I think that like the cool thing about this, and hopefully we move into a world of legality for all these things where you can just kind of like dabble and figure out your concoction. Because I think I know a lot of people who love beer, including myself, that this could find a spot in our social tonic world. It's like, okay, well, I'll start my night with this, kind of like your friends do it, and then I'll just shift to beer or whatever, and just the end result of your night is maybe you feel a little better the next day because there's no hangover from this, or whatever. It's just like this social tonic mix.
The craft weed bar.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize we have some friends that are connoisseurs and pretty heavy enjoyers. And I mean, like Willie Nelson's got his own strains, and there's these celebrity strains, brand designer strains. I guess is it craft weed? Would that be what it is? But
maybe is it marketing or is it craft? I have no idea.
They talk about the different flavors in these strains and different things, so I don't know enough about it to know, but I guess if you're a serious connoisseur of the marijuanas,
I think it'd be craft if you were actually doing something to design the actual buds, the plant material you're smoking. It's
and I guess there probably are people that do that, right?
It could be genetically engineering them.
So that's actually kind of, so we don't have access to the couple or the two providers that we've worked with so far or consulted, like aren't currently doing that level. So basically the THC we get is kind of like you strip all the flavor out of the bud, and then it's just, so it's kind of pure. It still tastes like herbally, but the next level would be that craft. I forget the name of the process, but there's like a process where you kind of leave some of the terpenes from the plant in there, and so like your different plants matter. So it's really similar to hops. It's like this has this profile, this has this profile. So that's coming, so that'll be craft weed.
Tutti fruity.
Bring back the Hemperor. You can do it.
Purple,
like the one where you open up the bottle of the can and the entire room smells like you lit up 85 joints all at the same time.
That's unnecessary.
I kind of missed that just because it was such a ridiculous beer.
Did you ever do any of like the weedy beers, the high terpene beers?
I mean, a lot of our beers were very aroma forward, but nothing that we kind of doubled down and bragged about.
That was like the focus on that, because it seems like that was a flash in the pan.
It was for a hot minute. Terpenes.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about putting terpenes in beer around the time of the Hemper,
because you know Sweetwater did their
420 strain, and that's still out there. You could still get that.
Yeah,
and I will still say that is a good beer. It does have. It's not like the Hemper, but that's a great beer with some of those notes.
Here's my problem drinking those dank beers like that, where the focus is basically it smells like a bong water. You know, if I drink one, then for 2 days I'm burping weed. And like I just taste it all the time, and I can just see me like, you know, maybe having one single beer and then hitting a traffic stop, and I just reek of weed. And he's like, have you been smoking? I'm like, no, honestly. I'm like, I had one beer. He's like, sure. You smell like a weed factory or factory.
Yeah, that's what they do.
It's a, don't you know who I am? I'm Tom
Dantana. Tom Dantana.
There we go.
Human beer tender.
That's right.
Do you watch the show, What We Do in the Shadows? Okay.
Was it Ricky Dantona?
I forget name, but it's about vampires that are followed around by like a reality show kind of thing, and it's comical.
There was a movie. It's a
Waititi.
That's Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi's like the director of it. Anyhow, great show. But there's one where one guy gets away and assumes a position, assumes the identity of a human, and his entire disguise is putting a toothpick in his mouth.
Yeah,
that's it. And then he's
Danny or something Dantona or something like Montana. I can't remember what the heck
Tony
it is.
Daytona or something.
Tony Daytona.
Anyhow,
yeah, it's Tony Daytona, I think.
Yeah.
And when he takes a toothpick out of his mouth, people recognize him. It's it's
Mark Hamill cameoed in that episode.
What's that? Yeah, Mark Hamill. He was the guy with the grudge that was looking
took the
for
toothpick out, and he's like,
that's pretty good.
Yeah. So check that one out, Daniel.
What
We Do in the Shadows.
It's just too good. And but before the series came out, there was a movie.
Yeah.
The movie was fantastic as well, but the TV series is in fact better. And
one of the few where the TV series is actually better than the movie.
But
and it was a good movie.
But both are really good. Both are very much worth watching.
So there's Beer Guys TV and movie recommendations for the week of October 19th.
And it's timely because we're coming up on
spooky season.
Spooky season.
Yeah.
Does that not? Okay. I got to ask, does anybody else feel like that's so fellow kids? The spooky season thing?
Can we start calling spring break pukey season?
Yeah. Oh, yes, we can. Yeah.
Can we do season? That? Target market that.
Yeah. The pukey season.
I
think
funnels and PVC hose.
Oh, boy. All right. This has gone off the rails. I wasn't where I wanted to go.
Isn't that what it's supposed to happen, though?
Yeah, pretty much.
It is.
It's like if you entered a show on the rails, you'd be like, "Oh, we really did it."
Yeah, it's like
lame.
Screwed up.
Yeah,
this show was totally.
We really landed that show. Damn, what happened?
Yeah. I remember going spring break one year to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Redneck Riviera, and went out there with my cousin and one of her friends and one of my friends. And on the way in there, I believe this was my Bud Light days. These were my young days when I was drinking Bud Light. And my buddy and the beer in the Carolinas, because my cousins were and her friend were from North Carolina, Natty Light was the beer there. That was the cheap beer in the Carolinas. So we stopped at some gas station or something along the way and bought like 10 cases of a mix of Bud Light, Natty Light. And we got I remember the first day there, we bought a dual nozzle beer funnel that had the little valve thing, so you could go all to one way or all to the other, or just both hoses there. And the funnel would fit a 6-pack. And I'd like to say with great pride, I was able to funnel a 6-pack of beer.
That's
at least I'm told.
Congratulations.
I'm told that's what I can do. But young days, having fun, beachside Myrtle Beach drinking. We built a beer mid out of empty cans there. I need to hunt down some pictures of that because I didn't know that I have.
Love it. I love thinking about the days when there were like weird, like regional, like light beers. Everybody was very in that camp. It was. I'm trying to think of what that is. See, like tribal light beer. This is our tribe's light beer.
Natty
Light is all that is consumed here. Nobody drinks out of the shit.
So that's actually like it made when you started talking about that. I like part of my beer tourism is trying to find everyone's like in Minnesota we drink hams. It's just like
delicious.
Land of the
sky blue water.
Yeah, land of the sky blue waters. So that's like our kind of I don't know, like try to think of all the equivalents. We also have. This is like one of the top selling states for Mick Golden. I don't know if you guys like. So it's a Mick.
I
don't
have that one.
You're
Michelob
making
Golden
stuff
Light.
up now,
No,
Daniel.
this is like Michelob Golden Light. It still exists, but only in Minnesota. It's like it's made in St. Louis or wherever. It's a Michelob product, Budweiser product. Budweiser or Miller is there really a difference? I don't know. So that's like our top selling light lager is Michelob. It outsells Miller Lite and Bud Light. But our regional like kind of bottom priced beer is hams. So when I travel, I'm always trying to find whatever the hams is. Like I grew up on Old Style, like that's what my grandpa drank.
Heileman's, I think Heileman's Old Style.
Yeah, I grew up in Illinois, and even though it's made in Milwaukee, everyone drank Old Style. And then so what's the one they drink on the East Coast? That's
Natty Bo.
No,
up in the Northeast, they got.
I was in Baltimore, and everyone's like, "I'm like, well, so what's your hams?" And someone had an immediate answer, and I was like, "Oh God, I gotta look it up."
No, well, gin.
It's a red
I think
can.
That's more New Yorky. Maybe some
red can.
I think it's a red can.
You got Jenny Cream.
Yeah, the Genesee does have a red can. You know what's interesting is hams was they marketed the heck out of that in the Northwest, and we saw that a lot. But in my day back in Portland, Henry Weinhardt's, which was bought out by Anheuser-Busch, but that was
Rainier
kind
was
of
really the thing up there.
Yeah, Rainier. Actually, Rainier might have been our cheap one.
Like a Coke, isn't there a Kokanee or Kokanee or something?
Kokanee? Like Kokane,
like named after the salmon, right?
Yeah, there's some beer up there. I remember having that in Washington State. I'm like, this is like.
I think that sounds familiar. There's Kokanee's. I think it's another name, or it might be the Native American name for a landlocked salmon or something like that.
Okay.
So I think that sounds right. And Kokanee is a word that I heard a lot when I was in the Northwest, and I never hear anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a beer by that name. It does sound familiar.
And you've got Gansett. I think Narragansett.
Narragansett. That's the beer I was thinking.
Oh,
yeah,
that's Northeast, not Northwest.
Yeah,
Narragansett.
Rhode Island, Connecticut.
I was
in Baltimore. Yeah, Narragansett. Yeah. So,
all right.
We have that here. I actually looked at that when I was picking up beers for the show. I was like, oh, hey,
I don't think we really have one like that in Atlanta. I mean, the closest we'd get is like your 420
Classic City Lager.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. I guess so.
It doesn't quite hit that.
We don't have
not
one that's
old
been here
enough
100 years.
Yeah. So all of our older breweries didn't survive.
Gone,
none of those guys survived. So we don't have one that's native to here. That's that old. I don't know. Like
in the Midwest,
we're really a Bud Light, Miller Light kind of place. If you're looking at those kind of beers.
Butter Miller, maybe Pabst or something like that. A little bit. I don't know.
Talking to hams, Daniel, I dig hams. Like if hams is available, I'm totally okay with crushing some up.
It's legit and it's dirt cheap.
It's hard to find around here. Occasionally I find it, and I've bought the the big ass case of it or whatever that's available.
Rack.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you'll find when you find it. But man, it's tough to find.
I lived in New York in my early teens. And so Jenny Cream was kind of the beer you stole out of your buddy's dad's fridge kind of beer. So that's got a special place because it was kind of the first one for me, sneaking beers.
I'm still surprised how much different Jenny we get down here. We have their honey brown ale down here. They've got a red. They've got the green.
There's
I think they've got
there's Jenny Light,
and they've got like a white one, like a red, a green, and a white or something like that. We've get all that down
but that
here.
is another one that I enjoy. A nice cold Jenny Cream.
Yeah,
we got to talking malt liquors recently, Daniel, and like the Mickey's Big Mouths.
Yeah, I could always go for a Mickey's.
Yeah, because the Mickey Big Mouths were good. So, yeah, you know what? I saw this one recently, Nate. So Nate just shared a picture. Peach State Light, the unofficial beer of Georgia, and I know that one's.
That's
I think
newer.
I shared that with you, right?
Yeah, that's a newer one.
So see if people buy into the hype there.
I'm not yet
cheers,
sure about that. Hey, cheers.
cheers. We're actually talking regional OG beers right now, and trying to see.
Yeah, because we've had a few local breweries that have like kind of tried to enter that space of like the ham space. We're like, oh, we're like creating a Minnesota themed light lager, and there's just something they have to stand the test of time. You know, it's just like that you can't
create that. Right.
Not everybody
become that.
Not everybody can succeed in launching their beer into ham space.
Right. You know? Yeah. Your grandpa's beers, man. That's what it's got to be. Like I've shared, my dad wasn't a big beer drinker. He drank some cocktails, you know, or I don't know if you call 7 and 7 was his thing. 7 and a 7 up, just a simple thing. But my uncle is the one I remember as the beer drinker with his little short boys of Budweiser. So that was the one that, you know, we'd go out fishing and he'd have his little cooler full of short boys, little 8-ounce cans.
If you're drinking directly from the can, as we've discussed previously, a short 8-ounce can makes a lot of sense, as does a 12, honestly. But
and really, those beers, those macro lagers and like that, when out on the water, especially salt water, you got that salt air and it's warm. Those are pretty refreshing straight off a block of ice. You know,
so they had 8-ounce cans.
Yeah, this is back when they were like actual like 10 cans, you know, not just that, but the hardcore like pull tab cans and such. So I am 130 years old, Daniel. So, you know, thinking back there to my childhood.
He's up there.
We used to actually take the bucket to the local brewery and just get it filled there. That's how we got beer.
Now, you know what? And some people are doing in the craft space are doing this with the larger styles. I've seen some 8-ounce discussion of, and people releasing beers that are really high gravity in 8-ounce cans. And it makes a lot of sense with something like that, where you want to drink something and it's just ridiculously high in ABV. And you don't really, there's nobody around to share it with. Like, do you want to finish it? Like if you have an 8-ounce pour, you can work through that. 12 ounces, if we're talking 14, 15%, that's doable. That's a little bit more dangerous. And 16, just forget about it. Honestly.
Or 750 milliliter bottle is what a lot of, so Minnesota liquor laws, that's a whole, we could do a whole show on that.
And I love large format, big stouts.
Can you do 750s there?
It's all, so up until this year, we were only allowed to sell beer to go in 750 milliliter containers or 64-ounce containers. Like we couldn't sell any 4-packs or 6-packs, 12-ounce, 16-ounce out of our tap room.
Ridiculous.
And so that's just it. But in June, now we're allowed to sell up to 2 4-packs of 16-ounce cans, which is like, you know, a 6-pack and a half volume wise. So now we can kind of sell in any volume up to whatever 64 ounces. So we can kind of parse it out how we want.
Man, so you still have, I didn't realize there was, see, I thought
you were ahead of us in beer.
We can do 288 ounces here. That's our thing. So, you know, basically a case of 12 ounce is, but that's it. They worked, there was a bill up to try and change that some, you know, this year. Cause we can't get a keg from a brewery. So, or anything like that.
So you can't say, hey, I've got a special event coming up, get a wedding. I just want to get something directly from the brewery, which is hard to come by. No, you got to get it through a distributor. So they have to put it in.
You got to go through a retailer.
You got to go through a retailer.
As a consumer, you got to go through
you can't buy it. So you have to get a retailer to pick it up.
And then a lot of breweries will have to send that to a distributor to send it to a retailer.
Correct.
So
right. Exactly.
So there's stories in Minnesota where it's like, you're selling it to a bar down the street and it's got to bounce around the cities to get to that bar. Like I can't wheel it out on
that's correct. And if it goes into distribution and the right people see that it went in, we've seen this happen where somebody bought beer out from underneath the person that it was intended for, because they saw it, and the laws are such that once it goes into distribution, it has to be available to anybody. So if you know what's going on, some jerk can go in and buy your beer and just basically, in a way, steal it from you. So you can't get that beer. That's happened. It's ruined events in this area. But hey, we got the protections of the 3-tier system, so thank God for that.
When the Trader Joe's grocery chain came to Georgia, one of the things people were the most excited for was that cheap wine, their $2 chuck.
Yeah.
And that was a thing that was an issue here because it was delayed for quite a while because Georgia liquor law says if an alcohol is available, it has to be available to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're in Georgia, you will find Charles Shaw, you will find 2 Buck Chuck at other stores because it has to be available to everybody. So
yeah, there is a story that from last couple of years where one liquor store pressed. So do you have Total Wines down there?
we do.
They're one of our best customers, and no shade on them. But they have a house wine, whatever, and so that they sell out of their stores and they sell it for cheap. And so one liquor store pressed them like, "Hey, well, if this is available there, we got to be able to sell it too." And then they made headlines because they bought it from Total Wine and sold it cheaper than Total Wine.
Yeah,
just kind of as a middle finger, which is like, I'm sure Total Wine was applauding, their move or whatever. But
that's it. I know. There's actually a lot of industries where that comes in, where the regulation requires reselling. That's my day job. I'm a recruiter for telecom, and they back some of the technical terms. They have an ILEC and a CLEC, which is the incumbent local exchange carrier and the competitive local exchange carrier. And because of deregulation of the phone companies, these incumbents had to offer their lines for lease to these competitive carriers, and they do the same thing. They would lease these lines and then sell their service less than what like Bell South or AT&T would, because of course AT&T has to maintain these structures here. So
correct.
Telecom, beer.
Yeah, and as a small guy who gets your hands on a 2 Buck Chuck or something like that, selling it at a small loss is a loss leader for you to get people in. Sure. You can brag about that all day. You want real 2 Buck Chuck, because now with inflation, it's no longer $2. I don't buy wine. I just know it's no longer $2.
It's not a $2.
But if somebody actually did, if you want 2 Buck Chuck for $2, come to my place and I'll hook you up. They upsell them on other things. Man, it's a genius move. They can undersell them, but and basically playing the game. And like, well, the game is kind of screwed up. So I guess it's there to be played. I don't know what you say about that, honestly.
Are you guys familiar with the 3-2 liquor laws? It's another cool Minnesota back. Cool.
No, I don't think I know that one.
So 3-2 laws is that 3.2% alcohol by weight or lower is like what can be sold in certain areas. So like we were one of 2 states that still had 3-2 liquor laws. So Minnesota has a long, weird history with liquor. Prohibition started here, and there's a reason for it. And so we've been fighting that all day, every day. But so 3-2 laws, like, so in grocery stores, convenience stores, you can only sell like 3.2% alcohol by weight or lower. So you can't. So anything above that is classified as strong beer and can only be sold at certified liquor stores. So we were one of 2 states, us in Utah. And
I was gonna say, that sounds Utah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that does.
And then
sound like
Utah, like last year, 2 years ago, like got rid of their 3-2 liquor laws because Utah's like, this is dumb, and so Minnesota is now still standing on that pedestal, thinking that it's relevant to
Utah. Utah is ahead of you guys on.
We lost to Utah.
To Utah.
It's crazy. Yes, I'll be right back in a second.
Go fast, Brian. Go fast.
Gonna go
Run
quickly.
like the wind. Get the jibber jabber in here. Jibber jabber. It happens. Yeah, it's crazy looking at all the beer laws out there. And I think probably whatever laws you live under, you probably think they're just the most oppressive in that. And I know when direct sales happened, Mississippi got it just before Georgia did. And there was a brewery over there, Lucky Town, that did one, I think called like number 49 or something like that. And it was just basically a stab to say, hey, we weren't the last ones to get that, because they get so much grief about being last for so many things. But it's still crazy.
I'm sure there's hopefully always like a good on the other side of like the oppression. Like Minnesota, like our self-distribution laws are a little bit more liberal than a lot of states. Like we can self-distro up to 20,000 barrels without having to sign with the distributor, and it's throttled back in a lot of states. So
we've got no self-distro here at all. So
really? So you have to distribute.
Have to have a distributor. And that was one thing that we had. There was no self-distro and no direct brewery sales. So these small little breweries, you just couldn't open. It just wasn't financially feasible, reasonable to do that. So when they finally changed the laws and allowed direct sales. That was really the turning point for us getting some smaller, true craft that focuses on selling out of the tap room rather than distro, because it just didn't make financial sense to be a 3-barrel brewery.
Yeah.
When
did that change?
2017.
Okay.
So
So we're just ahead of you. So we had what was called the Surly Bill. I'm sure you guys know Surly Brewing, which are great friends of ours, and they've been pretty important to our success. But they really lobbied. They had a brewery that was kind of subject to the laws at the time, and they just wanted to have a single tap room. Like, we just want to have a bar and sell our beer directly to people. And that didn't pass until 2015. So that was so that was just huge news. Was it 2015? No, it was 2012, sometime around there. I don't know. Good thing this isn't being recorded.
Well, not for the radio show. It's out. We're still broadcasting
I
on
know.
Facebook and all that. So but it won't be on the radio show. Nate, we got another comment there. You can keep an eye on those. That'd be great, sir.
I thought I could make it to the end.
See, exactly, stuff like that.
I'm trying to do that.
There. Yeah.
2011. 2012 was when it passed.
Okay.
So 10 years ago. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense, because that's when I moved. That's when I moved to Minnesota.
Keith, have you had the Utopias Worldwide Stout? Because that is one that was stellar.
That was really good.
And that sometimes they do those crazy stouts like that. And I think we still have the. Yeah, I think we got
the Utopia Sparrow Worldwide Stout. Yeah, it's up there.
But that was really, really well done. That was
honestly, Utopias is great too.
Utopias is Utopias
again, because that's technically a beer, we can never get it here, even though it's really kind of a strange quasi whiskey of some kind.
Yeah. Daniel, you may have mentioned this, but what's your ABV cap there?
We don't have one for beer.
Okay.
No, strong beer. Strong beer doesn't have a top. It becomes strong beer after 3.2, but it doesn't have a top.
Okay,
which could be an interesting conversation for the show, because that's harkening back to what does innovation mean for beer now that everyone's put marshmallows in their beer and you gotta do something else. We're working on this new category of alcohol that could be worth a mention. But I also have to pee real bad. So
okay, you take a break and then we'll fire back up there. So we'll be there. So the one that's the Barrel Age Worldwide it's good. And I don't remember. I think it's a 17 maybe on the Utopias one.
About 17%.
Yeah, but that Utopias, I mean, that's just straight liquor.
That's around 40%.
That's liquor.
That's a beer cordial or a beer schnapps or something like that. It's.
I mean, I had a bottle and it lasted
liqueur
4 years. You know, it's something you just don't sit around and chug it or anything.
And it's reminiscent of drinking a port or a sherry or something along those lines.
Well, even along that, you opened it, put tin foil over it, and brought it in the next week so I could try it.
I didn't have to put tin foil. It's got a screw on top. Oh. Yeah, it comes in that porcelain decanter thing. Though. I've still got the bottle. Yeah, it was fun to try. I know people go back and forth on.
I'd get it again. It's so hard to find because again, it's technically beer, and so it runs afoul of our stupid cap.
Yeah.
Even though we can buy whiskey that's far higher proof than that, it runs for, if you see it now, I think it runs for around $300 a bottle.
It does.
Yeah.
It's not inexpensive.
All right, well, got rid of that, Nat.
That Golden Monkey's tasty.
I like Golden Monkey a lot. So.
Golden Monkey.
It's a classic. I think it's one of their I think it's one of their what's that?
Return to Monkey.
Return to Golden Monkey. You know what? I'm trying to think. Was that the one I had for Long Beer Fridays? Because that would make a lot of sense.
I don't know.
It may well
looks
be.
Like it should fit for Long Beer Fridays.
I was going to, when I was getting ready for the show, get all 19.2 cans.
Okay.
but the options were limited.
We could hunt around.
Yeah, I think we'd have to. So the ones at the liquor store that I went to had, some of them had been sitting around for a while.
Okay.
So, and they were IPAs. I'm like, I'm not going to subject us to a bunch of old IPAs just because the format's large. I want them all to be good beers. That's why I got Gold Monkey. I know that's going to be awesome.
So I know Golden Monkey.
Yeah,
and you've got 1050.
1050
that does the tall.
They
long boy.
did. I don't know if they still do.
Did that one get scrapped?
So the stout that they were putting in that, they went back to 12-ounce cans with that. So they got rid of that. But Sweetwater does a fair number of those. I'm trying to think who else. New Realm does a few too, I think.
Two Hearted.
Bell's,
in
yes.
a 19.2 or a 16?
Bell's is a 19.2.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
And then Founders All Day does a 19.2.
I haven't seen that one. The Two Hearted I nearly got, but
I think Hopsecutioner does, or maybe it's just a 16.
I don't know.
I think they might. The Two Hearted I nearly got, but again, that was a case where I think the beer, based on looking at the stamp on the other side of the can, was a little on the old side. I'm like, I want to do this, but I don't want to pick up an old, even refrigerated, an old IPA or pale ale. I just don't.
Oscar Blues, Dale's Pale, is that in a 19.2?
I don't know if that still is.
Did they scrap all the 19.2s over there? Is it?
I don't know for sure. I know that the stout, the big stovepipe stout that I bought so many of, they did get rid of that. I think that went back to 12-ounce cans, which I understand. I get it. I don't know about the other ones though. They may still do the other ones.
Part of that though is the distributor that carries Oscar Blues. Doesn't bring in the barrel aged 1050.
Oh, they don't bring in barrel aged 1050
I saw some
anymore.
jibber jabber about that. There was something. Yeah. Crazy stuff, man.
That sucks.
Crazy
that's a bad choice.
Stuff.
That's a really bad choice.
I'm kind of a fan of the 19.2 package, though.
You said you are or not?
I am. Like, I think
yeah.
it's like, it's definitely like, for me, it's kind of, you're going out riding your bike, you're going to a concert and pre-gaming type of thing.
Right.
You could definitely put some like cool barrel-aged stout type of things in there for sharing, but we've talked a few times about getting into that package, and it's like one of the packages that's underserved for quality of beer. It's like not everyone's looking at the 19.2 section when you go in a liquor store, but if you end up looking there, there's not much options. I mean,
there really is not. What you need to do is a 3.2 beer at a 19.2.
Yeah, and then throw it. I mean, we can get it at every
get
Shell
it everywhere,
gas station,
every convenience store.
We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do a collab with BP.
That's it, man. I know I think 7-Eleven's done one. Wawa.
Yeah, that's right.
Wawa Bucky's neat. I don't wonder if Bucky's did a beer. They got to do one.
Oh, why you guys got to even tell me about or bring up Wawa? I'm so jealous that you have them. You have Wawa.
We don't. Not yet.
They're coming.
The two big things coming here from are you familiar with Bucky's, the truck stop from Texas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So we have two Bucky's in the state of Georgia along I-75. One towards our northern border with Tennessee, one towards the southern border with Florida. When you leave the one on the northern, the first thing you see is a billboard for the one 200 miles
to the north. Yeah.
So
or south.
So we've got
I've never been to a Bucky's, but people on my football team wear Bucky's garb to the game. I don't even know why. Like
it's nuts,
is it just over the top? Is it a Wawa on steroids type of thing? I've been to a Wawa.
Oh, that's right. Bucky's coffee cup, man.
I did make a stop, so I've got a Bucky's cup. It was like $10. So I'm like, all right, why not?
So what do they have? Is it just like,
dude, this is like, it's seriously like a gas station the size of like a Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
They've got one of their big things is I think they call them, I don't think this is right, but Bucky's Nuggets or something like that. And it's kind of like a Cheeto without the cheese covered in toffee. Sort of. It's like the and then they do different flavors.
They got an entire barbecue.
But they literally
place
have a smokehouse there where they do like smoked brisket and all that. They have a deli and bakery. It's just a ridiculous gas, and they're very famous for their absolutely spotless, immaculate restrooms. So
good restrooms, and they have at least 4 different flavors or varieties, maybe 5 of beef jerky. And they've got a section that's just clothing. Like they've got clothing and like memento section too. So it's huge.
It's an institution.
It's big.
So we've got those two. We have Whataburger is coming to Georgia now. They'll be here soon. And then Wawa seriously announced like last week they were going to start expanding into Georgia. So we'll get them.
So where's Wawa? I've been to Wawa in Florida. That's the only place I know. And I know they announced North Carolina because one of our employees lives in North Carolina now.
I think they're like
I went to Pennsylvania,
Ohio.
Yeah, I saw them in Pennsylvania.
I think our buddy Woo Bears in St. Louis has mentioned Wawa, so maybe they're over in Missouri.
So
but they're coming here. We don't have them yet.
Basically, Wawa versus Yingling, where you can get it. Like they're kind of
figuring
figuring out a similar path.
We have Quick Trip here. Do you have Quick Trip?
Yeah, so I was actually going to bring that up as our like very minor league version of a Wawa. It's like that's the only one. So we don't have Quick Trips in Illinois where I'm from. And so I came up here and I fell in love with Quick Trips. I'm like, oh my God, they got fresh baked donuts every day. It's like,
it's Maryland, New Jersey. Okay, Wawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've definitely been to one in Pennsylvania. I went there for a cigar event and I stopped in one just because people I knew talked about it. I'm like, all right, I got to check this place out.
I know I had one buddy who talked about their sandwiches. Like, he's like, dude, ours down here is our sandwich joint, the grocery chain Publix. You have the Pub Sub.
Okay.
Sheets. I've heard Sheets as well. Yeah.
I have heard of Sheets as well. Yeah.
Sheets, Wawa, QT, but the Pub Sub it's legendary down here. Publix is out of Florida originally, but of course all over Georgia.
Yeah.
But they could do standalone sub shops and they'd kill it. So
yeah, their subs are legit, and I kind of wish they would.
Now
just
I want a pub sub.
Yeah, right. I kind of wish they would. So you know what? I think the lines would be even longer. I'm like, they're already long in the grocery store. I think they'd be even longer if they had a standalone deli place. That would be fantastic.
You'll have a 15-minute line to the sandwich counter in a grocery store here for people to get their pub subs. So,
crazy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine just like having an idea to start a gas station and then like well,
then your Wawa,
and then all of a sudden your Wawa, and like people are just like on a radio show talking about your gas station. It's like, that's
exactly. You got dudes with coffee cups with a beaver's head on them because from your gas station.
And a cheesy beaver's head at that. Yeah. It was a $10 coffee mug. It's insulated. It's like one of the
Did you get a free fill when you bought it?
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
I got with coffee, of course.
Stuckey's. Yeah. Here's y'all interesting trivia. Stephanie Stuckey was our lawmaker in, I believe, 2006, who passed the law or brought the bill forward in the state of Georgia to raise our ABV limit above 6%.
Wow.
Stephanie Stuckey, the current president of the Stuckey's restaurant chain, part of the Stuckey's family, and recently rebought the corporation to bring it back under the Stuckey's household and breathe life back into a piece of American roadside.
How far did Stuckey's go? That was all southeast, or is it further than
go
southeast?
Up there, Daniel, do you have Stuckey's?
Nope, never heard of it.
Pecan log rolls.
That may have been I know when I traveled, we did road trips when I was a kid in the South, that they're all over the South. So I think
I figured
maybe it's just a Southern. And as a kid, if something exists near you, then it's kind of omnipresent.
It exists everywhere.
So yeah,
I know it wasn't something I was aware of over in the Northwest. So.
Yeah. What did Wawa? Did it start as like a restaurant sandwich shop, Rick? Is that where it started?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, he's from Philly. What they just did to our Braves up there, I don't know.
I don't know if you want to know.
I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this.
Interesting.
This
man.
could be
interesting.
This could be fake news.
We need to start a whole show just talking random stuff about gas stations and sandwiches and stuff.
Gas station food radio.
Yeah. So we did that. Thanks for that was fun conversation, Daniel. Off the rails indeed. But that's
when you know you're doing it.
Yeah. Keith said he's got to check out the pub subs, which indicates he has not had a pub sub. And that's wrong.
Yeah, you got to.
That's wrong. Yeah,
check him out. What's the chicken?
Fair warning.
Yeah,
they don't do their cheesesteak right. So if you're tempted for a cheesesteak, don't go for that. Go for the Italian or something like that. Or their chicken tender sub is bang.
Chicken tender sub is really good.
Tender sub.
I like the Italian, the boar's head Italian. Is the way I usually go.
And always upgrade to the boar's head meat on your pub sub.
Yeah. Don't mess around. Don't mess around.
Dairy and food long before. Okay. All right. Look at this, man. We're learning so much on here.
How about that?
Today.
Okay. I guess it makes sense. It's like we're doing dairy and food. We might as well give food for cars. Let's get gas in here.
Food for cars.
Yes, food for cars.
Wow. We got food for cars.
That's right. So. I think that was the original ad campaign for that. Food for cars.
I found my way onto the Wawa location website. And so currently they're in Delaware, Florida, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia. But there's a coming soon. And that doesn't have any info.
Okay. I think they may have actually said Georgia was going to be 2024. So it was like just announced. So we still got a little ways to wait for our Wawa.
Okay. I wonder if that's the place. I saw that on Twitter where they package up like cans of Budweiser along with steaks, is kind of like shrink wrapped together as a thing in the
adult Lunchables kind of thing.
Basically, kind of a steak and a Budweiser,
steak and beer.
Yeah,
guys, I tell you what, let's get this last segment done so we don't forget to do it.
We should definitely do this.
Daniel, so we've covered some good stuff here. Is there anything we have not mentioned yet you want folks to make sure they know?
Shoot. Let's see. No?
You did mention something about 12 packs in the email.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's definitely more. That's definitely more of a local Minnesota thing. But
okay.
I mean, maybe just kind of like we could talk about Modist footprint and where you can find us currently.
Let's do it, man. Let's just talk maybe we'll talk packaging again a little bit more.
Yeah, we also have
Tall Beer Fridays.
The newest beers like Fruitopolis and Ritual and things like that.
Yeah, we'll go. So we like those are all worth a mention, and I mean I do like the package conversation. I think that's good for craft beer fans just to kind of kind of think through like how I think about packages and kind of relate to the like how they think 12 packs versus 19.2s and whatever. That's interesting stuff.
Fun stuff, man. All right,
cool.
Let's do it. Right. We got this.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Cannonball coming.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to Modist Brewing Company.
Modist Brewing. Daniel, when we were on break, we got to talking. We're sipping Victory's Golden Monkey here, Belgian-style triple, which is fantastic. It's been a minute since I've had this one, but this one is in a 19.2 ounce can.
A stovepipe, if you will.
A stovepipe. What's the one that's more than that? 24, maybe 22?
I think there's a 24 ounce can.
Pipe?
The stovepipe.
Yeah.
The
What's
oil
the
can.
bigger one called? Oil can?
Is that Foster?
The oil can is 750 milliliters, which is slightly bigger than the 19.2. I think that's 750 milliliters. It's like
25.3 point somewhere in there. Yeah.
So that's what we had to sell. Up until this last year, that's what we had to sell our to-go containers in was a crowler, which is a crowler is the same thing as a Foster's oil can.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, up until June, that's the only legal vessel that we could sell. A beer
so are you open now on what packaging you can sell?
We can sell up to 64, up to 2 4-packs to a customer. But you can only buy 2 per day, and then whatever that volume translates into 12 ounce cans. And then we can still sell 64 ounce growlers, but we can sell unlimited 64 ounce growlers and unlimited crawlers per day. So the 750 milliliter crawlers, but nobody wants a beer in a crawler in an oil can. It's just like it's a horrible package because it's filled from the tap. It's just like you have to it's already packaged. It's repackaged beer is what it is.
So I know every ridiculous law has a reason. But why can you sell unlimited crawlers and growlers, but you're limited on the packaged product?
So in Minnesota, like the story is that selling direct to consumers, and regulating that is protecting mom and pop liquor stores.
Okay,
which there is some truth to that, but we also have evidence from every state around us that mom and pop liquor stores are going to do just fine if we can sell, a 4-pack to a customer. So this is just kind of step one for them, kind of saying, hey, maybe this isn't a big deal. So we've enjoyed it. And it really, honestly, it hasn't been that big of a deal. It's like some people will buy a 4-pack from us and most of the time they don't. It's like our to-go liquor store or liquor sales haven't really changed that much. They would buy it in a crowler and now they get to buy it in a 16 ounce can, a 4-pack. And we're happy about it because that's just a better package for them to consume it. The shelf life is longer. if you buy a beer in a growler, drink it within a week, because it's not, it'll probably last a month, but you're drinking beer that, has already been exposed to oxygen again. So you have to like pour it out of a tap into a can and then seal it.
Yeah.
And so
we had a period here where growler shops were the rage. Like, before we got direct sales from breweries, that was the way you got the one-off beers and stuff from these breweries that had to do distribution. If you do a 5-barrel batch, 10-barrel batch of a special beer, how much sense does it make to package that and send it out to distro? But you can send out half a dozen kegs or what have you, so. But that was boom and bust. I mean, those growler shops came up in maybe a few years, just no one wanted it anymore. And I think any craft beer drinker in Georgia probably has a growler graveyard somewhere where you've got all the growlers that you had. It's just something, because we can do the packaged at the brewery, it's just not necessary. And a lot of our breweries won't do them anymore just because it's just not the benefit, the labor that they have to put into it.
Yeah. And COVID kind of wiped a lot of that out too. It's just like,
right.
That was the first thing to go. I was like, I don't know. Like, we don't know what this thing is, but we're not going to fill your mouth thing on our taps. So we'll control that. So that, the growlers are cool and it's really nostalgic at this point. But we currently don't fill them anymore. We never had our own growlers when we launched. We just went hauling to growlers, and we caught all sorts of, pushback for it, because it's like, oh, it's just like, growlers, it's a craft brewery, and we're just like, we're just going to do growlers because it's that's better for the beer than a growler. Growler, it's 64 ounces, and you got to drink that like as soon as you open it, and so you better be willing to drink 64 ounces of beer in a night or two, or have some friends over, because that's the idea. And if you're not doing it that way, then you're drinking, like, my product is going to taste worse than I want it to. So it's like, that's never what you want.
Now they did do
fresh.
They did do growlers, 32-ounce growlers. I have a few of those. Some of them are actually plastic. I always wondered with that sort of thing, if they make you do the growler thing, could you not just have, and I probably need new equipment for it, have a canning line that just cans growlers, so the growlers are effectively just large cans of beer that don't have the exposure, and then when somebody asks for one, we have our filling machine in the back, and then you bring them a growler. Or maybe it's just the dimensions of the vessel itself that's all that matters.
Yeah, like the biggest canning line companies, aren't going after that. If it got popular enough, I'm sure there'd be like a really a good solution for that. But I don't think that naturally it's always going to be like a couple steps more than people want to go, because it's just like not an ideal vessel size for beer. But there's people that like locally that have designed multi-head filler crawler machines with reverse pressure. So, like you get the oxygen out. It's, it's a better way to fill a crawler. And so the shelf life is extended, but still compared to a $250,000, 4-head canning line, whatever, it's like, it's never going to like compete. So,
right. Yeah. Like you said, I mean, even if they did that, Brian, how many people will want to pick up quarts? Is the benefit to doing that worth it?
I get that. I was just thinking like the idea of, well, I won't buy growlers. I'll only buy one because I know it's not going to last long. If you had a machine that was in basically producing the same quality sealed up cans in larger formats that technically adhered to the law, and you could sell them in an unlimited fashion, you might sell more of them because people would realize that those are as good.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just getting too far afield.
Yeah. You're also, remember, you have a drinking problem.
Oh yeah.
So for you to take a crowler, like, that's nothing for you. But a lot of people be like, hey, I don't want
32 ounces. Fine. That's like, what are we drinking next? Yes. What are we drinking next?
Yeah. But Daniel, let's talk a little bit about, as we're getting to the tail end of the show here, Modist Brewing. How far do you guys reach? Where can people get your beers?
So right now our footprint is most of Minnesota, basically metro area, and Duluth, Rochester, kind of bigger outer state metro areas. Looking for solutions to fill up the rest of the state. We're in major metro areas in Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Let's see where else we're on Tavar, the app. which delivers to 30 something states. But all those states I mentioned outside of Minnesota, like we basically send them drops. So it's like, there's no guarantee that we'll be there all the time, but so we'll send them the right amount of beer where they can get to their accounts, but it's probably going to disintegrate pretty quick. So it's like, we try to keep our beer fresh out of state, and, we don't have boots on the ground there to kind of like monitor it daily. So we always try to kind of stay slightly under demands just to make sure the beer doesn't get old. But I think that's it for right now. We recently started shipping some beer out. We'd sent out some beer to Canada. We sent out some to Denmark. Found a cool. Oh, we were at Other Half in New York, in Green City, and we met a couple cool exporters. And so they just like kind of sold us on the idea of exporting beer, and like it's not a lot of volume, but we just it's kind of romantic. So we're sending some beer overseas. Going to hit the China market soon, which is like, it just kind of comes down to getting their beer onto a storage container that's gonna that we can't send hoppy beers because it takes so long to get from here to there. So it kind of depends on the brand and the timing or whatever. But so some beers will be sent overseas, but I think that's it.
Sending crowlers over.
Yeah,
sending
China,
crowlers.
right?
Only crowlers.
Only crowlers.
The size of shipping container. It's one giant crowler, and they've just got a can off of that.
That would end up being the weird thing, is like that they would do that, and China would fall in love with them.
They would want
like
nothing but
just
that.
crowlers became the thing. Like it's.
Well, I mean, how long have Foster's oil cans been a thing? I mean, I used to.
Yeah.
My family had a liquor store growing up, and I remember like. After college, I just went and worked there, and I drank Foster's oil cans like they're going out of style. I'm like, this is cool.
I loved them too, man. Just the Sapporo 2-liter can with the handle on the side. Just the novelty of it was just a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Daniel, thanks so much for joining us, man. We really enjoyed chatting with you, learning more about your brewery. If people want to follow along with what's new and hot at Modist, what's going to be the best way for them to do that?
So it's at Modist Brewing, MODIST Brewing, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And then modistbrewing.com, MODIST brewing.com.
Sounds easy enough. Awesome. Thanks again for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Make sure to join us next week. Come hang out for the live stream. Enjoy, chat with us. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Boom.
Cool.
We covered so many interesting
Good times,
topics,
man. Thank you.
Awesome. And I do really want to send you guys some beer.
We do really want to drink that beer.
We would.
Yes.
Can we be? We never. So I never like to directly ask for beer. I think that's rude. And we have a term from the cigar community called cigar weasels.
Mm-hmm.
So I do, of course, being a beer show, one of the cool perks that we really love is we get to try some great stuff. But may I request, if that coffee pastry lager is available, that you include a can of that?
Yep.
Please.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Love to try that one.
I got some for you guys. And,
Keith, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you listening.
No
in every week. If there's someone you want us to talk to, let us know, man. We're always looking to get people that our listeners want to check out, the breweries that they want to hear from. We're here to please and drink beer.
Indeed. Yes.
And
yes.
Drink beer.
We're mostly here to drink beer, but also we will try to please at the same time.
We'll do our best.
Yes.
We will do our best.
If it fits into the schedule of drinking beer.
So, yes, right. Usually they can go hand in hand. We're able to do that pretty well.
Most of the time.
But you know what, y'all? Daniel, hang with us just a second. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream. Y'all, again, we appreciate every one of you coming and hanging with us, listening to the show. Tell a friend about us. Threaten an enemy.
That's right. Threaten an enemy.
All about Beer Guys Radio. But have a good week, y'all. We'll see you soon. Cheers.